Okay, guys, welcome to Strange Playgrounds. You know what I'm reviewing, and I will say off the bat, I won't even pretend that this is going to be a serious review, that it's going to be deeply analytical or considered or anything to that effect, because it's not. It is just going to be me exclaiming how much I love this film. Last year, 2022, was actually a really strong one for films for me. I watched a lot of stuff that I thought was very good. And not only very good, I mean, Banshees of Inisherin, you know, we've reviewed that already on this channel. That film, go and watch it. Banshees of Inisherin is one of the most beautiful films I have ever seen. Without a shadow of a doubt, I thought Banshees of Inisherin was beautiful. This, Everything, Everywhere, All at Once, is equal to it. It's a cinematic masterpiece. This is just dragging it away from any deeper consideration, just looking at it on a purely technical level in terms of the cinematography, the pacing, the script, the acting, everything is wonderful in this film. The film, because it draws this multiversal mythology, it gets away with being able to do so many things, and that can often not work. That can often fall into conflict, or it flies apart because there's no coherence. This manages to draw in so many different types of cinema, so many different types of story and style and aesthetic, and merge them together into this wonderful whole that never stops. It never stops. There is this pace to this thing that is absolutely wonderful, because it is essentially a multiversal mythology where, as the title says, anything goes. Anything and everything goes, including the most absurd, surreal stuff you have ever seen. That it just leaps from one moment to the next, even from like one frame to the next. You'll be in a different universe sometimes, or the aesthetic from a different universe will invade, and that could have flown apart so easily. It could have just been an incoherent mess, right? But the filmmakers marry that mythology to the nature of cinema itself as a visual art form, and they look back at various different traditions. There are references here to things like the Wachowski sisters films, to things like Jet Li's films, to Chow Yun-fat's films, to Bruce Lee's films, to there's martial arts cinema here, there's science fiction cinema, there's fantasy cinema, there's surrealist cinema, there's German expressionism here. There is so much going on, and at the core of it, at the heart of it, all of this incredibly epic, profound nonsense that's happening, you have this very funny, very sad domestic drama occurring, which is at the very heart of it. It is not contrary to that stuff, it is part and parcel, and the two mirror and inform one another in the most beautiful way. And I say it's like, it's a very profound, epic mythology, but it's one of those mythologies that acknowledges the basic absurdity of those mythologies and of that metaphysics of everything, everywhere, all at once, of the notion of a multiverse where everything can occur and everything does occur all at once, where every conceivable potential exists somewhere. It acknowledges the absurdity of that and the kind of core nihilism of it. I mean, the main antagonist is a character who has seen all of that and experienced all of that and done all of that. They remind me, funnily enough, of characters like it in video games. So like Flowey from Undertale, for example, is another example of one of these characters. When you are God, when you exist in every potential, everywhere, all at once, and you have experienced everything all at once, then nothing matters, right? Nothing matters. Pain, suffering, death on any scale does not matter, because it's all occurring everywhere all at once. It is just another potential of reality, right? And if you operate in those potentials, if you perceive in terms of potential rather than as we do in terms of linear cause and effect, then nothing matters. Absolutely nothing matters at all. And that is at the core of this film. There is a real, underneath all of the comedy, and that, boy howdy is there comedy in this film. I mean, even the mythology itself is made absurd. There's this great moment, spoilers by the way, where the main antagonist is talking to Michelle Yeoh's character. Oh, Michelle Yeoh. Oh, I love her. I love Michelle Yeoh from her previous work, but in this, she is just... first of all, how many films do you know have like a middle-aged domestic woman as their protagonist, right? How many do you know? In an action role, nonetheless. She is effectively a superhero in this film. She has martial arts scenes. She has like epic superpower scenes. It is unbelievable. The stuff this film puts Michelle Yeoh through. It is, I mean, I know it's not all Michelle Yeoh doing it, obviously, but even so, it's bloody incredible to have this character at the heart of what is effectively action, like really high martial arts action set pieces of the like you would find in a Jet Li film or in The Matrix, to which, by the way, this film owes something of a debt. But you have this moment where you understand what's going on, effectively. It is the antagonist. I won't call her a villain because she's not. She's really not. But the antagonist is monologuing. She is telling the audience effectively what is going on, why this weird kind of like multiversal slipping is happening, why Michelle Yeoh's character, against all odds and probability, this domestic little character who doesn't even consider anything of the wider world, or of metaphysics or of anything, has been dragged into this conflict which spans multiple creations. And she explains this. She explains how I have experienced everything everywhere all at once. I operate in these spheres all the time. I perceive every potential and probability as it's happening, and I feel it, I experience it. So every suffering, every joy, every permutation of those sufferings and joys I experience. And it's left me as this. It's left me as this nihilistic creature that can do anything, that can be anything, but doesn't want to be anything. And I took all of this... I took everything, every permutation of reality, every minute shift, every granular change in creation, and I put it on a bagel. That's the MacGuffin at the heart of this film. There is literally a bagel with everything on it. Literally everything all at once, all of creation, all of permutation, all of reality. And it's to demonstrate the epic absurdity of this kind of mythology. It's so wonderful. And it does it. The film does it. It's a wonderful thing. It is slathered in irony. There is satire like running underneath all of this film. But it does it in a way where it doesn't lose sincerity, and that it doesn't lose its heart, because at the heart of it ultimately is this domestic drama. It's about Michelle Yeoh's character, her husband, who is the sweetest guy. I mean, being played by Ke Huy Quan helps, right? Short round, yeah. That helps, and he is the sweetest, most affable, most hapless guy you could possibly ever imagine. He is the beating heart and soul of this film. But circumstances have made it so that they are getting divorced. There's nothing else they can do. Their laundromat is failing. Their daughter, there is this generational gap where they are somewhat estranged from their daughter. Their daughter is a lesbian, and Michelle Yeoh's character is having difficulty with that because she's got like a traditionalist heart, and it's about that conflict. Ultimately, it's about that conflict, and around that, you have this absolute insanity happening. And the filmmakers love it. I mean, the filmmakers just have fun with it. they go wild at times. Certainly towards the end, there are these sequences where they slip into realities where there is nothing, where no life ever evolved. So Michelle Yeoh's character and the antagonist are manifested as talking rocks, and they talk via subtitles that appear above their heads. Stuff like that. And that sequence goes on for a couple of minutes. In any other film, it wouldn't work. In any other film, it would like jar everything to a halt. In this one, it doesn't. It just doesn't. There is the way the mythology is communicated is brilliant. It's subtle and it's quick, and you get what's going on almost immediately. There are these moments that are just jaw-droppingly brilliant. When you start, the moment you learn about this mythology, Michelle Yeoh and her husband, Ke Huy Quan, are going up in an elevator to the tax office. They are in trouble with the tax office, effectively. And they're worrying about it and they're talking about it. And suddenly, Michelle Yeoh's husband just turns. He just stops and then starts talking to her in this very unusual way. And he tells her that he is not her husband, but he is a manifestation of her husband from another reality, and he has come seeking her because she is the only one who can end this situation where all realities are being collapsed in on themselves, and where some tyrant is marching through the realities and crushing them under her heel. And it's like, what? It comes out of nowhere. It comes out of nowhere, that moment. Up until that moment, you don't know what kind of film, unless you know better, you don't know what kind of film this is going to be. And it's weird, and it's kind of disturbing, but funny at the same time. You are sharing Michelle Yeoh's reactions to this event, and it is wonderful. It is absolutely wonderful. Jamie Lee Curtis. Oh my God, Jamie Lee Curtis is in this film, and she plays the tax officer, this weary, put-upon tax officer, she's trying her best with this family. She is, but it's an almost hopeless situation. You know, Michelle Yeoh's character doesn't understand how the tax system works. She's kind of fucked it, basically. She's really messed it up, and Jamie Lee Curtis is at the end of her tether with it all, and the way her character and Michelle Yeoh's character evolves through this escalating relationship, as we see different permutations of them through the different realities, is unbelievable. It's unbelievable. I mean, Jamie Lee Curtis is having a blast with it. She's really enjoying it. Everyone is. Everyone in this film seems to be having fun. And that comes off the screen. It kind of bleeds off the screen. There is this real sense of energy and of dynamism. And it bleeds into you. As the audience, you can't sit still. You cannot sit still throughout the runtime of this film. Every sequence is great. Every sequence is wonderful. I want to go watch it again, quite frankly. I'm sort of like, ooh. Unlike, say, Banshees of Inisherin, which I loved to bits, but Banshees of Inisherin is really dark. It's a really dark, emotional psychodrama, and I need to build up to that one again. But this one, it's so uplifting without being saccharine, without being mawkish, without being overly cliched, and it's just wonderful. It does reconciliation very, very well, very beautifully. And it explores nihilism in a way that is not it's not absolutist. So it's not despairing. It's a wonderful, wonderful piece of work. And it does all of this. It does all of this wonderful stuff with cinema and philosophy and existentialism without being pretentious. It doesn't matrix it. You know, it's not pretentious. You don't have moments where characters stand around talking about, if you ever had a dream you weren't sure was real, blah, 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 blah. You don't have that in this film. Everything happens through the medium of action and activity, and it's wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful. I mean, I couldn't get enough of this. The martial arts sequences, I've got a bit of a thing for like Jet Li's films and Chow Yun-fat's films, and for the old Bruce Lee films. I kind of like well done martial arts extravaganzas. I particularly like the likes of Hero and Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Hero is beautiful, by the way. If you've never seen Jet Li's Hero, that's art. That is cinema as visual art. It is stunning film. This has got sequences that are as composed and as choreographed and beautifully, exquisitely wrought as those films, but it often plays them for laughs. So it takes the epicness of those films and drags them down into silliness. One of the weirder conceits is for Michelle Yeoh's character to shift into to access the experiences and memories of one of her other incarnations from another reality. She needs to do something absurd, something that breaks the rules of her reality, if you like, of the way she would act, and which chimes with something that one of those potentials has done or is doing. So you find her doing the most absurd, ridiculous things like picking her nose and eating it and shit like that. And it's fucking brilliant. It's so funny and so weird, and it's wonderful. These fight sequences are based around that. There is one sequence, and I shit you not, it is brilliantly shot, that centers around one of her opponents trying to shove something that he shouldn't shove up his ass. And it's hilarious. It is so well done. This fucking film, Everything Everywhere All at Once, it is so well named because it is that. It gives you that. That's its promise. That's its oath. That's what it gives you. And it is wonderful.